Hi everybody, it's Dystopian Wars week here at OnTableTop, and we have two amazing prizes up for grabs. Our first prize is the Sturginium Skies 2-player starter set. For your chance to win, get your comments in on YouTube. Our second prize is the Hunt for the Prometheus 2-player starter set. The winner for this prize will be chosen from comments on OnTableTop.com.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another Dystopian Wars faction chat. I'm joined by Chris from Warcradle Studios, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Empire.
We are indeed.
So, the Empire, a big faction covering a lot of different nations.
Yeah, there are, and it's an interesting one because the Empire has very much been closed for a long time to foreign trade or any kind of diplomats. They're a bit of an unknown quantity insofar as the rest of the dystopian age. They are formed of China, Japan, Burma, Korea, the Philippines, and Thailand, which are the main nations within the Empire. Currently, insofar as certainly the miniatures, we are really focusing on China and Japan for the most part. And there are quite a lot of differences between those two factions insofar as what they bring to the table.
What sort of things can people expect then from the Empire fleets? Are they very distinct between the nations within them?
Yeah, as I said, at the moment, Chinese and the Japanese are quite distinct. The Chinese ships they have paddle wheels for a start. So like the Union ships, they have the ability to turn on the spot by using their paddle wheels to just counter-rotate and turn. And that gives them some real agility on the table. And it's a bit of a surprise when you think your opponent's going to crash into something and suddenly it just turns 90 degrees and, unleashes its broadside, which is a nasty surprise. The Chinese also have big flamethrowers.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the Tianlong there, which, who doesn't like enormous mechanical flying dragons,
The idea of having these mechanical creatures within the fleet is interesting because they're not alone. They have a few other kaiju, I suppose.
Yes.
Created
colossi, yes.
Yeah.
So the Tianlong is really interesting because there's a lot to it. It can do a lot of different things. It's very versatile. It's got a lot of rules, which mean that it can do a lot of different things. It can be, you can have them in units, and you can also have them as attached models. So you can, you can have them with some of the other battleships or some squadrons or a variety of different things.
Acting as escorts.
And that gives them the ability to, really support some of the other units in the game, which is great.
Or you can just double down to your heart's content and just put them all in one squadron and go and really ruin somebody's day. Set them on fire, watch them burn to the waterline. It's a good way of doing it. I like it.
The Japanese, as a counterpoint to the Chinese, they've got this distinctive look, which are very train-like, and they're a little bit tougher than the Chinese ships. And they're a bit more direct. They've got forward-facing guns, which means that they're more about, driving forward towards the enemy, whereas a lot of the Chinese ships need to do that kind of turn to bring everything to bear. There are advantages to both. I personally like ships that have that kind of setup where you have to turn them to get broadside on. Because it means that it's forcing you to bring your broadsides to bear and bring all the weaponry to bear on a single target, which you want to try and focus on bringing things down rather than damaging everything on your opponent's side.
No, I like that. I also like the fact that they have a way of actually pivoting to really bring that to full effect, because sometimes the hardest part is maneuvering into position where your broadsides are there, but being able to suddenly turn on a dime, as they say, and unleash hell is always good fun.
Definitely is.
So the Orbats, the order of battle for the Empire then.
Yeah, so as we've mentioned before in some of the other chats we've had about the factions, the order of battle is your handbook to building your forces for every nation. The order of battle, or the Orbat, contains all the special rules for that faction that you might need that are specific and aren't in the rule book, as well as all the stats, all the points costs, and how you build a battle fleet. Battle fleets have a set of construction rules. The faction battle fleet, which is the first one in the Orbat, tends to be fairly open, so it's non-restrictive. You can pretty much take whatever you like.
Min-maxers.
Yeah, absolutely, like to a certain extent. But it's a little bit more for the eclectic gamer who just want to feature everything in the same battle fleet. And then you have the slightly more specific or thematic battle fleets. So if you wanted to go for the Ninjing battle fleet, for example, that allows you to have a lot of Jian class and Shanghai class units, which a lot of people like that kind of swarm tactic where you have a lot of the same ship. You know what you're doing with every unit. You're doing the same thing with every unit. It's a good way to kind of learn how the game works by just using the same thing. And once you've got the core mechanics of the game off pat, then suddenly all the other extraneous rules for the other units start to become a lot easier to swallow.
And you can start to build on
if you branch out.
If you see perceived weaknesses in your gameplay, perhaps because you're focusing too much on one thing, then you can always find a counter for it within the fleet lists then, and bring something in to strengthen that area.
Absolutely, yeah.
Any other sort of standout interesting weapons that define the Empire?
Well, they've got a very strong rocket game. So rockets work in a slightly different way to gun batteries, in that they don't decrease. They're a bit like torpedoes. They don't decrease in dice over range, which means you can sit back and just lob rockets at people. The downside is your opponents get to try and intercept those rockets with their aerial defenses. So there is a chance that your opponents can negate some of the damage that you might put in. However, having said that, the Chinese and the Empire as a whole have a lot of alchemical rockets. And that adds alchemical, which is similar to the hazardous rule in that it applies disorder to enemies. And whenever you do a critical hit, that adds to that disorder. And before you know it, they're at chaos and disarray, and then you're adding more disorder, and that starts to add more and more damage into them. So you can start off with that alchemical, which gives you your first hazardous disorder level, and then you can start to add from there.
Just snowball on top of it.
And that then starts to damage the ship as well as the attacks you're putting in. So if you like a force that sits back and can engage at range, then this is a good way of doing it.
Sounds interesting. What are sort of your favorite ships within the fleets then? Is there any that stand out at you?
Zan Madao, Sky Fortress, which is looming on the horizon. And it's just bristling with batteries. It's got broadsides all over it. It's got alchemical cluster bombs. So if you get close enough to it, you can start carpet bombing your ships. It's got SRS tokens, lots of them, and it's just a lovely miniature. So I think this is going to be really popular going forward for the Empire.
At 450 points, it's practically a fleet itself as well.
It certainly is.
That is brutal.
And this should be a big box product as well for the Empire. So it means that you'll be able to get a load of plastic in there as well. You have a bunch of frontline support or whatever, maybe some Tianlong in there as well, to keep it on that aerial theme, which would be nice. So there's some really nice stuff for the Empire out there, but the Ninjing, as I mentioned before, is a really good jumping off point. If you're thinking of getting into the Empire, that's a really good place to start. There are 2 builds for the battleship in there. One of them has the Erland Sheng, which is 3 heavy guns, which again can fire at extreme range. So it gives you another element to that long range sit back and shoot faction. So that's a popular one for a lot of players.
I imagine it would be. It's also a very distinct look to the Empire fleets. I really like the glazed jade tile everywhere.
Yep.
One for the painters out there if they want to go for a splash of color, not dull like the Imperium.
Yeah.
Nothing but greys, blues. Yeah, fascinating stuff. If you've any questions for Chris, just let us know below and we'll pass them across. Until next time, bye-bye.
Hi everybody, it's Dystopian Wars week here at OnTableTop, and we have two amazing prizes up for grabs. Our first prize is the Sturginium Skies 2-player starter set. For your chance to win, get your comments in on YouTube. Our second prize is the Hunt for the Prometheus 2-player starter set. The winner for this prize will be chosen from comments on OnTableTop.com.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.